Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of the Ares Academy. Today we'll be taking a look at the new US Tier 8 Cruiser Wichita. This is a ship that I have fallen in love with. The more I play it, the more I enjoy it. I know a lot of other people have come out saying that she's a worse Baltimore, it's not worth the money, don't get it. I'm here to tell you that is a lie. This ship is absolutely fantastic and I actually place her above the Baltimore. And we'll explain that here in a few minutes. But first, let's get to those upgrades and modules. Pretty standard stuff for your US cruisers, especially if you're familiar with Baltimore. Radar in slot 3, if you're crazy, put spotter plane there, but Wichita is made to make use of that radar, so make sure you put that in slot 3. Slot 2, go with defensive fire right now, with all the carriers and everything going on with the rework. As that levels out, you may wish to switch it to hydro, but right now defensive fire is your friend more often than not. So go ahead and put that there in slot 2. As far as your upgrades go, pretty standard affair again for US cruisers. Main armaments in slot 1 with damage control there in slot 2. Slot 3 again, going with the anti-aircraft module here, especially with the planes right now. But even after that dies down, that's probably your best bet there in slot 3. Slot 4, go with rudder shift steering gears. I'll explain why that's a big deal here in a little bit. And then obviously in slot 5, go with your concealment expert. So that's pretty much standard affair for cruisers. So go ahead and lay it out that way, and that'll be a good start for you. As far as your exterior options go, pretty standard again, US premium camo. If you've completed the US campaign for alternate color schemes, you'll see that here as well, more of a grayish look. So user preference on those two, the bonuses are the same, and you'll see those bonuses there, with the notable one being the 50% increase to XP per battle. And as we move on over to the captain skills, you do have quite a bit of choice here. The one thing I will mention that is if you have one of the special US captains, either John or George Doe, they work really well with Wichita because of the buffs to their skills that they get. As for this captain layout, the first point I take is priority target. Some people like preventative maintenance, so as usual, user choice there. But in that second line, you're gonna want the turret traverse first. You're going to want to grab that expert marksman there. It really helps Wichita. In slot 3, I went ahead with basic firing training because of the carriers, and also you only have the one radar consumable, so superintendent not really that great there. And then in slot 4, go ahead and get concealment expert. After that, you'll want to grab expert loader, because being the US cruiser, you will be switching between HE and AP a lot, and if you have one of the special captains, that buff is a 75% reduction to reload time, so you can actually switch shells 2.5 seconds, which comes in really handy in some of those fights. After expert loader, go ahead and save up and get advanced firing training. That'll further help your anti-air and everything with the planes and stuff right now. After that, it's kind of a toss-up. You've got a few extra points to throw around. Because you're going to be using HE the majority of the time, I went ahead and took demolition expert and then threw in preventative maintenance at the end. There are a few different ways you can do that, but that's how I've got mine set up. Now that we've got the captain skills out of the way, I want to take a second to compare this ship to Baltimore and explain to you why I think it's actually the better ship. If you take a look here at your maneuverability and concealment, you'll see how the Wichita is actually better than Baltimore. 4.8 second rudder shift with 9.5 kilometer detection. That is significant. Also, you'll notice on the guns, your base AP damage is less. Wichita does not get the heavy AP shells that Baltimore does, but you have higher shell velocity, which means a bit better shell arcs, which means a little bit easier time aiming. So as I pull up the Baltimore here, you'll notice the number differences between the concealment, rudder shift, and turning radius, and also the difference with the AP on the guns. So if you're looking at pure number standpoint, pure damage, yes, Baltimore can put out more damage. But as far as ease of access, the ability to maneuver, dodge shells, be in position for your team, and basically mitigate damage, Wichita is far better because of the concealment and rudder shift. Not to mention the fact that your radar is 9 kilometers right now. So if you get detected, you can pretty much throw radar and spot what's spotting you. But that ability to just dodge shells and the tighter turning radius just makes Wichita so much more fun to play. And even though the raw damage numbers might be slightly lower, I was having so much more fun having much better games in Wichita than Baltimore. So in a pure numbers sense, yeah, sure, Baltimore might lay down higher numbers if you're just comparing damage. But if you look at the entire picture, to me, Wichita is better. And with that being said, we'll hop into a replay here, and I can go into a bit more detail about why I'm so in love with the Wichita. Alright, and as we get into this replay, you'll see it's already a few minutes into the match. It took a little bit of time for this one to get going, but we moved up into position to try and help our team here a little bit. This Jervis, I'm not sure if it was a bot or what was going on, but it basically just gets annihilated here and doesn't really pose any threat to my friendly DD, which is why I hold my fire here to try and get into better position for the wave of battleships that's coming around the corner up there. You can see them kind of clustered together. But I want to take this opportunity to not really go step by step through the replay like I normally would, but to just highlight why I think Wichita is the better ship to Baltimore. We talked about it earlier. Your raw damage numbers with the AP shells with Baltimore are higher. Yes, they are, because it's a different gun. So if you're just looking at baseline damage, baseline DPM, yeah, Baltimore's going to win. But if you factor in everything else, the rudder shift, the concealment, the turning radius, the fact that you still have, you know, American 203 guns that lay a hurt, Wichita is so much better in my opinion. It's a ship that I actually have fun playing, and I can't say that about a lot of the US cruisers, especially, you know, Baltimore and even to an extent Cleveland, because of their, you know, island hiding, you know, meta that exists there, and the fact that they're so sluggish, and basically if you get caught out of position or in the open, you're gonna take a beating. You know, and that's where Wichita kind of shines. Even though you're just as squishy, you take just as much damage. The fact that you have basically a destroyer radar, or not radar, rudder shift, is invaluable. I can't tell you how many times I would have been deleted in another cruiser, but in Wichita, my rudder shift was so fast that I actually dodged the shells mid-air and took either significantly less damage or no damage at all. That actually happens a couple times in this match. That's, you know, a little bit later on, but you know, right there I'm taking full pins from a Colorado. Luckily no citadels, but we still took a decent chunk of damage. But as we loop around here and engage a little bit, you'll see, you know, the power of the Wichita. You're not going to be shooting AP as much as you would be in Baltimore. You're going to rely a lot more on your HE and fires, which the fire chance on these guns is actually pretty high. If you take the flags and demo expert, I believe you can get your fire chance pretty close to 20%. Which is a really big deal considering how accurate these guns actually are, especially with the higher shell velocity, which means not as lofty as your normal US shells. So you can get a lot more shells on target, which means more hits, which means more fires. I've seen some reviews saying that it doesn't start fires, and because you can't use AP, it's not any good. I found the complete opposite to be true. I've had multiple games with double-digit fires. I was able to you know, alternate my fires between damage controls on enemy ships and just get permafire after permafire. So I found it to be a very good fire starter and a very accurate one. So, you know, that's the other thing, you know, people saying Baltimore is better. You know, again, I find Wichita to be much more enjoyable. But, you know, as we get back to the game here, you'll see that I think 4 enemy battleships come pushing through the gap here. So we have to kite away and just do as much damage as we can. And again, it's all HE. There'll be, you know, some other situations that'll pop up where you might have normally fired AP in Baltimore, but Wichita, it's all HE. It's pretty much like your standard heavy cruisers, you know, HE at everything, unless you get a cruiser broadside, you know, 8 to 12 kilometers away. Then you could AP them down, but essentially you're going to fire HE at battleships no matter what, unless you just catch one really close range, perfectly broadside for you. I did some training room tests. I was not able to citadel some of the higher tier battleships at all, even, you know, 2 to 3 kilometers away, perfectly broadside. So keep that in mind. The AP shells are not Baltimore shells. So don't expect that, you know, if you switch to AP, don't expect the crazy high numbers that you might get. But you can still more than make up for it with your HE, as you'll see here, as this Bismarck will just get melted. He takes a pot shot at us, a little bit ago and completely missed. Some of that German dispersion, sure, but being able to maneuver as fast as we are makes it really tough for battleships to hit you at the longer ranges. And again, this ship is just more comfortable. I think, like I keep going back to it, does Baltimore have higher damage output, baseline damage? Sure. But Wichita is so much more comfortable, so much easier to play and maneuver. To me, that makes it more enjoyable. And if you enjoy a ship and you have fun in the ship, I think inherently you start to do better in it. Could I come out and throw up huge numbers in Baltimore? Sure, but it wouldn't be fun. It wouldn't be enjoyable. And I think that's the difference here, and some people kind of lose sight of that they're just looking at raw damage numbers. Alright, as we rejoin the battle here after that little fast forward after the Bismarck sink, you'll notice our team not doing so hot. We've lost all 3 caps, and we're getting stomped pretty hardcore on points. But we're going to see if we can't make a comeback here. This Massachusetts is almost dead, so we'll try and focus him down real quick, and then rotate back over to A cap, see if we can't reclaim it, and hope our team on the other side can kind of do the same. But back to what I was saying a bit ago, Wichita is just, it fits. At the end of the day, you play the game to have fun, and Wichita is fun. More fun to me than Baltimore, more fun to me than Cleveland. It's just easier to use, and you're still going to put up great damage numbers. Don't be fooled by the fact that your AP shell doesn't hit as hard. You can more than make up for it with fires, and your accuracy, and using AP and HE effectively. You can more than make up that difference. So don't be fooled by just the baseline numbers and what some of the other reviewers may be saying about her. I find this to be a great cruiser at tier 8, even without the heal. But Baltimore and Cleveland don't have heals either. But I found this ship for some reason to just really work. That rudder shift concealment turning radius really does make a difference. I know that may seem crazy, but after playing this ship, putting a lot of games into her, I can honestly tell you that it is more than worth it. So take that my opinion for what you will, but I think I'm in the minority when it comes to liking this ship. It's definitely not a bad ship. It's definitely not just a meh ship. I would even say it's not even an okay ship. I would say it's a good ship. I wouldn't go as far as to say it's a great ship. It's not an overpowered ship, but it is a good ship. It is a fun ship. And at the end of the day, if that's what you're looking for, then I would definitely grab her for sure. But as we get close in here, this Nagato is getting punished pretty hard. And we actually get a chance to use some AP here in a second, I believe. But the poor carrier decides to send planes at me. I think we just wiped the whole squad. Cool effects there with the CV rework there. We're gonna hug this island here, try and catch the Nagato when he makes this turn. I was really hoping to get a lot of AP damage there, but he takes a massive shot from my teammate. So all that's left is a little morsel here for us to clean up. But at this range, the AP will more than get the job done. So there's our first kill of the match, and we're already sitting close to 100,000 damage as well. Alright, so as we fast forwarded, you notice I went in and captured A, now moving in to capture B. The enemy has a significant point lead because of them having all 3 caps for so long. So I'm doing my best to try and get these caps back in our favor and kill as many enemy ships as we can to try and pull out a win here. The Bismarck could have probably stopped here and stayed in the cap, but he's actually going to sail out of it, which hurts. But we do get a nice kill right here with, OP radar, right? But again, accuracy, bang, bang. So kill number 2, that poor destroyer, I'm not sure what he was thinking. Wichita radar. Very nice, great success. So he's gone. Bismarck sails out of the cap, so instead of halting the points for a little bit longer, they get a few extra seconds of having both caps. But I'm going to go ahead and move into B, assess the situation. We've got a pretty nice ship lead, 5-3, but they've got us on points pretty bad, and time is also starting to become a factor. So really the plan now is to take this cap, see if we can't kill enough ships to swing the points in our favor, and hopefully squeak out a win. Also trying to help the Bismarck here with anti-air as best I can. This is, again, at this point, I didn't have advanced firing training yet, so all these plane kills are without one of the plane buffs, so keep that in mind too. Wichita's AA is pretty decent. Keep in mind that might fluctuate and change as the CV rework progresses and they keep making changes and hotfixes to anti-air and plane health and things of that nature. But as of right now, Wichita AA is really good, especially if you take all the skills that go along with it. It is pretty strong. I haven't really had an issue with planes in any of my games with Wichita. It does a really good job of keeping carriers away. So here we've got the enemy Lion left. Try and focus him down. We captured the second cap, but if you look at it, it's not looking too good because of time. So at this point, we've just got to sink. Pretty much we got to kill them to win at this point. But if you look at our numbers, we've done a great job. Over 100k damage, a couple kills, plane kills, caps, contests, area denials, fires, everything that makes this ship great. So I keep going back to my point about raw damage numbers. Baltimore is going to have the higher numbers on paper, but in an actual game I find the utility and versatility of Wichita to be much better. I find it to be the better ship. You may disagree, and that's okay. You may feel like the bigger shells, the bigger AP shells on Baltimore is more your style, and that's fine. But to me, having that rudder shift and everything, especially when you see tier 10s, is really important because you don't have a heal. So being able to dodge as much damage as you can really comes in handy. But yeah, as you can see here, we kill the Lion, but there's just not enough time left. Even if we instantly teleported to C-Cap, we still wouldn't be able to flip the script in time. So unfortunately, this ends in a loss. But you see just what I'm talking about with Wichita and her damage potential. Final thoughts on this ship. I absolutely recommend it. I absolutely think it's the better version of Baltimore. I personally will not use my Baltimore anymore after purchasing this ship. So hopefully you get a better understanding of Wichita. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.